immediately through the Ministry of Interior and Coordination and also Attorney General's office to vet afresh, Mr. Speaker, and look at the registration of religious organizations in the country, be it Christian, Hinduism, Muslim, Mr. Speaker. I think there is a misnomer in this country, Mr. Speaker, where we are only keen against the Muslim community because there is a perception that there is radicalization, Mr. Speaker. Though, Mr. Speaker, these are shown that we should look at both ways. Even within Christianity, there is radicalization that is going through, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, vetting and registration of religious organizations must be done, Mr. Speaker. We are aware that the right to religion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, everybody has a right to worship, but the Constitution provides that where your right starts is where my right ends, Mr. Speaker. Even as we go through investigation, we want to ask all of us to refrain from commenting, Mr. Speaker, because it's sometimes prejudicial. I have seen the DPP, DCI minister going there, Mr. Speaker, but we need to be given forensic information, Mr. Speaker, on post-mortem, that really what happens, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this issue of cult religion is very sad, Mr. Speaker. I've heard my friends alluding that in one or so, on several or some occasions, that the pastor, the infamous Pastor Mackenzie, was in the same congregation with the president, Mr. Speaker. Those are just illusions. Those are just statements, Mr. Speaker, that has been made for political expediency, Mr. Speaker. We are aware, and I want to urge minority side, Mr. Speaker, not to trivialize some of this matter, not to do it for political capital or expediency that we are seeing today, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the President of the Republic of Kenya is a truthful man. He's an honest man. He's a man of God, Mr. Speaker, and he will ensure that anybody, Mr. Speaker, who might have been participant, and even the government, Mr. Speaker, that might have been a participant in one way or another in aiding, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, so that my colleagues are, I think as leaders, and I'm surprised that the minority leader is the senator of Kilifi, Mr. Speaker. I know a number of MPs, members of parliament. These things were happening behind, and they were busy doing demonstrations, Mr. Speaker. It's very sad that as a leader, you can allow, Mr. Speaker, side things to be happening behind your back, Mr. Speaker. Where was the senator of Kilifi, Mr. Speaker? Where was the women rep, Mr. Speaker? Where were the leaders from Coast Region, including Senator Faki, Mr. Speaker? And therefore, and Mr. Speaker, I have seen these people alluding that the deaths that happened from 2017, it was in the previous government, Mr. Speaker. It is this government has unadded these grievous things that are happening, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge that religion, I had seen Mama Ida Odinga made a comment about this. I think she might be right to some extent when she said this in January 2022, that we need to relook at the registration, vetting the process of religious organizations in the country, Mr. Speaker. That is the position of the government, that we need to relook, Mr. Speaker, so that we can protect our people, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to call upon Kenya Film Classification Board to be on the lookout to flag content, Mr. Speaker, that will always, the content, Mr. Speaker, because these people are preaching in our televisions, Mr. Speaker. I saw one saying, can you wave your phone? And by the end of this week, Mr. Speaker, we'll get 300,000. Mr. Speaker, it's very unfair. We must be told this flag, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I see some of the people calling, and Mr. Speaker, I don't know, we need to have this conversation. Most of the Carnival congregation are women, Mr. Speaker. I think as we empower the girl child, we must talk to our women, because these people are exploiting women, Mr. Speaker. Some of them are telling them, if I touch you, and I want to mention, said, when a woman goes and they have breast cancer, they might touch where the disease is, Mr. Those are sexual violences, Mr. Speaker. And people are finding it convenient watching in television and cheering, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is a situation, even there was one who told them, sold everything and bring it, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I condemn it and support this motion. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, my screen is reflecting every member is desirous of speaking to this issue. I want to propose that instead of 5 minutes, we do those of us who will get time to speak 3 minutes, so that we accommodate as many as. Very well.